In the dead of night, the tall buildings in the city were quiet. Only a few scattered lights dotted the night sky. Chris was an ordinary office worker. Due to rushing to finish a task, he had been working overtime until 2 o'clock in the morning. Dragging his tired body, he walked into the elevator of the company building, ready to go home. He was the only one in the elevator, and an unsettling silence filled the air. He pressed the button for the first floor, and the elevator began to descend slowly. Suddenly, the elevator stopped on the 13th floor. Strangely, there was no 13th floor in the building at all. Because of superstition, this floor had been directly skipped during the design. Chris frowned and a chill ran down his spine. He watched as the elevator door slowly opened, and outside was pitch black with nothing visible. "Is anyone there?" Amin asked in a hushed voice, but there was no reply. Just as he was about to press the door closing button, a pale hand suddenly reached in from the darkness and held the elevator door. Chris took a step back in fright. The hand slowly retracted, and then a woman dressed in shabby clothes appeared at the door. She kept her head down, and her long hair fell, covering her face.
"Sorry for the interruption."
Her voice was low and hoarse, as if it came from a long distance away. Chris was at a loss and could only nod stiffly. The woman stepped into the elevator and stood in the corner, still keeping her head down. After the elevator door closed, the atmosphere became even more eerie, and the air seemed to congeal. The elevator continued to descend, but Chris felt that time passed extremely slowly. He couldn't help but take a furtive glance at the woman and found that under her hair, a pair of lifeless eyes were staring straight at him. Chris's heart raced with fear, and he immediately averted his gaze. His hand trembled as he pressed the button for the nearest floor, but the elevator didn't stop. Instead, it began to descend faster. The floor numbers on the digital display jumped from the 12th floor all the way to the 1st floor, 2nd floor, 3rd floor. Chris's back was soaked with cold sweat, and he couldn't help but shout, "Who on earth are you?" The woman slowly raised her head, revealing a deathly pale face, and the corners of her mouth curled into a strange smile.
"Have you forgotten? The day you took me home."
It was also in such an elevator.
A memory suddenly flashed through Chris's mind. A few years ago, he had driven into a woman after getting drunk. In order to cover up his crime, he had thrown her body into the elevator shaft of an abandoned building.
"It's impossible. You're already dead,"
Chris shouted in horror. The woman's smile grew wider, and the elevator suddenly shook violently. The lights went out, and it was plunged into darkness. Chris felt a cold hand tightly grab his neck. The next morning, the security guard found that the elevator had stopped on the 13th floor, but Chris was nowhere to be found. The surveillance video showed that there was only him in the elevator, but it seemed as if he was struggling with something. And finally, he disappeared in the elevator. To this day, the elevator in this building still occasionally stops on the 13th floor in the dead of night, and everyone who goes up on it never comes back.